recap. Over the weekend, one whale dumped over 24,000 Bitcoin, which is about $2.7 billion worth, into thin weekend liquidity. That sell-off sent Bitcoin crashing from 114 to 112K in just 9 minutes, triggering $623 million in liquidations. Meanwhile, Ethereum had the best weekend of its life, ripping past old highs and nearly touching 5K. So this wasn't Powell, it wasn't retail panic, it was one whale with a very heavy sell finger and apparently a bit of a crush on ETH. All right, we're bringing Brandon back. Brandon, when one whale can dump $2.7 billion in Bitcoin and send the price spiraling in a matter of minutes, do you see that as a sign that Bitcoin is still too concentrated in a few hands, or is this just the kind of chaos we should expect until adoption spreads wider?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's something that as adoption grows, then this will dampen, obviously, like you said. But I think it's more of a resiliency play and just showing people how resilient Bitcoin is. We had the 80,000, someone selling Galaxy Digital, I believe, a month ago or whatever that was, 2 months ago, and it went down a couple percent. And so to me, you kind of look at it like half glass full. Like, normally for years, people said, if that happens, or, if the Mt. Gox coins come back on the market or whatever, it's going to, we're going to 5,000 and 1,000 again, 10,000, whatever it was, And so to me, it just shows resiliency and people there ready to gobble up the coin that are coming out of the market when we have obviously huge players in the space now, whether it's just retail itself and people DCAing all the way up to nation states. We haven't had this amount of buying before, and hence why the price is up above 100 grand. I mean, when you think about 15 years about when Laszlo sold the pizza for 10,000 Bitcoin and bought the pizza and to where we've come now, where it takes over 100,000 US American dollars to buy one Bitcoin. I mean, that's remarkable. And the speed at which, we have to zoom out. And I think that's it's all going one direction. It's all up and to the right. It's a network effect, and it just keeps. It's going to have these little dips and these, dips and the troughs, and it's just part of how this adoption works, and people being educated on the process and what's happening, and that the money, the transition through this monetary system is happening in front of our eyes. And 100 years from now, people look back and say, "Oh wow, like how do you not see that coming?" Like it's very easy in hindsight to look back and read a history book and be like, "Oh," but when you're living through it. A lot of the times, like these events, like even huge events in life, when you look back, it's very hard to see like on a day-to-day basis. It's not, some like easy thing where someone's like flagging you down and saying, "Hey, look what's happening." All these. So I think we have to keep that in mind. It just shows the resiliency of the market, I think, at the end of the day. And it's not something to, again, the people who are flooding this 10 years ago or 5 years ago were saying that if this happened, it would go to, 5,000 or 1,000, well, here we are, and it's not. So.
Yeah. That's true. And we saw, like you mentioned earlier, a bigger jump than this only, was it a couple of weeks or months ago? Was it the Galaxy Digital had like 80,000 that were dumped over the weekend? We saw the price fall like $3,000, and then the week started and it clawed back up in a matter of no time. So I do think we are seeing this increased resilience for Bitcoin as we move through this current cycle, especially. With that being said, though, weekend liquidity has always been kind of thin, which makes swings like this usually look a little more violent than they probably are. From your perspective, though, does this hurt Bitcoin's credibility with institutions who want stability, or is it actually an opportunity for smart money that knows weekends are when the sharks tend to feed?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, Bitcoin is the best asset out there, and people want your Bitcoin. So they're going to do anything and everything, whether it's just, flooding and media or, trying to do, ridiculous stuff on the weekends or different trading, or who is it, price suppression, the paper Bitcoin, who knows? But people are doing anything they can to get your Bitcoin. I think that's what everyone has to remember. That's why, it's like why self-custody is so important to a large extent, because it keeps your emotions at bay. Like there's not much you can do. You can't just hop on an app and just really quickly and easily sell it. So there's some psychology behind why, not just the freedom aspect, but custodying your own assets and protection, but also just, keeping your human emotions in check. So yeah, to your point though, obviously it will hurt the credibility to a degree. That's why a lot of institutions and bigger players haven't gotten into Bitcoin for years, because it's too volatile. It's this and that. Well, again, that's going to happen. But it like you said, it gives a huge advantage to the retail, the plebs out there who are looking to get ahead and find themselves on the positive side of this wealth transfer. These are your moments. These are your times. When it's at 1 million, when it's at 10 million, you're going to look back and wish you had $100,000 Bitcoin days, and it only was $100,000. So again, zooming out, that gives you the perspective of really understanding what's truly happening and not just, being some high time preference person just sitting there and looking at the linear chart on a day-to-day basis. That'll drive you mad.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, zooming out, I feel like, is always the move. It's like take a breath and zoom out and look at the charts. And that comes with doing your own research and educating yourself. And while you can't predict these things, we actually had Mark Moss on the show last week, and something he said, it's kind of like those who are unfamiliar with the history are kind of doomed to repeat it, but those who are unfamiliar with their history are also doomed to not be able to kind of predict what will happen next. And it does seem over time, these types of things kind of seem to show up time and again, just through different forms of the monetary system. So if someone's educating themselves through platforms like yours on YouTube, I think they're going to be a lot more aware and prepared when these types of things happen. Now, one thing that did happen was while Bitcoin face planted this weekend, ETH sprinted toward 5K. It beat barely new all-time highs, pushed its market cap near 600 billion. Do you think that Ethereum is truly building its own kind of momentum right now, or was this just one whale rotating into ETH and making Bitcoin look bad for a news cycle?
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I know our good friend Noah Bowerly thinks, for years has said ETH needs to become, 1,000 times bigger so that it can take down all of Wall Street. And who knows? Maybe that just might happen. And here we are. So, it's funny. I mean, Tom Lee went on a couple months ago into CNBC or whatever it was, and was, talking about ETH. And here we are. It's, things have been really pumping. So it's interesting. Again, you got to read the tea leaves a little bit, kind of read in between the lines. And this is the beauty of Bitcoin. ETH is, there's no one knows what's going on. As a central founder, there's roadmaps and splurges and purges and all kinds of stuff going on. But the beauty of Bitcoin is no one can take it from you. No one can print more of it. No one can debase you. No one can steal your time and energy. And all you have to do, whether you work at McDonald's or you work at Tim Hortons, or you're a doctor or a lawyer, you just got to save in Bitcoin, save more than you spend each month, and you will become more and more ahead in life as time goes on, which is what every human should be. You shouldn't have to have 180 IQ and be some day trader, high frequency trader and arbitrager to be able to get ahead in life. I really don't think that's how life was designed necessarily to be the case. So that's the beauty of it. And again, the E thing is they're short-term things. It's the whole XRP, it's up 500%, or ETH, well, look, it's up, 3x, 5x in the last month or two. And it's like, okay, again, zoom out, and the average guy is going to get wrecked trying to jump in and out of coins and trading things. I mean, very few, if any, people are great traders. That's why there are high-frequency trading algorithms now, because the average person, the average human, most humans cannot do that. You shouldn't be forced to do that. Do what you're good at, and then save in Bitcoin, the hardest money known to man, and don't worry about all the noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And in these short-term instances we see with Bitcoin pullbacks or whatnot, people are like, oh, that's the problem with Bitcoin. But the truth of the matter is there's nothing wrong with Bitcoin. These are all human problems, right? It's that shiny object syndrome. I saw Bitcoin reach all-time highs. I want to carve a little off the top and chase some higher alpha plays with Fartcoin or ETH or Solana or whatever else. But like you've said many times, you pull back and you see that chart. Bitcoin is still up and to the right over the course of its history, despite us humans injecting our problems into it and doing our best we can to wreck it. It doesn't matter. It's resilient. It's the hardest money out there. That's why it's always been up and to the right. So yeah, a lot of good points you made there. Thank you, Brandon. Stay tuned. We're going to sit with you just a second. I want to go over this next story and we're going to chat about it because Anthony Scaramucci says that Bitcoin will hit 180 to 200K by the end of this year. Yeah, even with the current pullback, the mooch is holding firm on his target, calling it cautious. Speaking at the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium, he said Bitcoin is consolidating while institutions flood on in. 3 years ago, conferences were filled with retail degens and blockchain founders, but today, it's suits and alligators because Wall Street finally realized that Bitcoin doesn't care about their bonus structure. Now, the mooch admitted some larger investors are selling, but he insists supply is still outpaced by demand. To hit his number, Bitcoin needs to climb about 58% to reach the low end and 76% to hit the upper boundary. Now, for some perspective, it's only up 21% year to date, and Mooch, well, he doesn't see a problem. And he's not exactly on the sidelines either. He said he owns a lot of Bitcoin, both personally and through Skybridge, with 70% of his wealth tied up in the asset. In May, he even said Bitcoin won't be fully recognized as an asset class until it hits 500K, when it officially takes gold spot at the grown-up table. Meanwhile, analysts at Bernstein are singing from the same bullish hymnal. In a note this week, they said Bitcoin could run through 2026, snapping the 4-year cycle that saw 20K in 2017 and 68K in 2021. They see a peak between 150 and 200K 6 months to a year from now, with Trump's mission to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world serving as rocket fuel. Now, spot ETFs and structural changes in the market, they say, make the old halving cycle rules outdated. Bernstein also sees an altcoin season kicking in, with ETH and Solana potentially leading the next leg. DeFi is back in focus, staking yields are scaling, altcoin treasuries are expanding alongside Bitcoin treasuries. Even Dogecoin and Cardano made their list, proving meme coins really are the cockroaches of crypto. And if that wasn't enough, they raised their price target for Robinhood stock from 105 to 160, citing its move into staking in crypto. The stock may have slipped 6% to 108 this past week, but it's nearly tripled from $38 earlier this year. So here's the takeaway. Scaramucci says 200K Bitcoin by December. Bernstein says 200K Bitcoin by 2026. Whether it's 4 months or 18 months, the consensus is clear. The top is not in, and the bull is still very much charging. We're bringing Brandon back. Brandon, the Mooch says Bitcoin will be hit by 200K by this Christmas. Bernstein says the same number, but by sometime in 2026. Do these timelines even matter, or is the only real takeaway that everyone agrees we're still not at the top?
Yeah, no, I think that we're not at the top. We have a long way to go. The liquidity, I mean, again, reading, I don't know if you call it tea leaves or just what the administration is doing, the faucets are going to be turning on here at some point in order of magnitude. It's gone on much. I mean, even just the last couple of years, the rates being what they are have lasted much longer than I thought they could. But at some point, again, all this debt has to get refinanced. The average person is, again, we can look up all the stats we want about credit card debt and auto loans and all these different statistics.